You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Good morning, traders and Quasar Markets Live. It's Monday, and we are back at it for one of the most pivotal trading weeks of the year. Biggest earnings of the year. We got the Fed, and we got my man, BigBeat, selling 25% of his holdings.
Yeah. You know, it's not often that I beat the desk. I do it about twice a year, Howard. I did it back in April, saying that this market was beaten up. The capitulation had happened. It is time to buy. And I heard wailing and gnashing of teeth. No, the market's going to go lower. The market's going to die. And it's going to be over, and we're going to go to hell in a handbasket. And it didn't happen. We went straight up, had the biggest run in decades. But when do you buy? When it's low. When do you sell? When it's high. I think you made a good point before the show. We've made all-time new highs almost every day last week. That's why people are chasing. I had just had an opportunity to speak at NAPA, which is the National Association of Insurance Realtors and RIAs, and they're not happy. They're saying people out there are just not happy right now. It doesn't matter if you're middle class, low class, up class, down class, red class, white class, purple class. Everybody is unhappy what's going on. Tariffs are starting to hit. There's housing prices. It's all kinds of messes. People aren't able to pay. You know, it was interesting. So you know what? I know when to do it. When I think we said this yesterday, I think we said it on Friday or Thursday, right? That when the taxi driver starts asking me about crypto and stocks, I'm out. So on the way home this morning, I got asked about crypto. So I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you very much. So look, I'm not selling everything, Howard. You're totally right. I'm only selling 25% of my portfolio. In fact, I've already done it. A lot of them are mutual funds, and which sell at the end of the day as they rebalance. So I've already done that. Actually, I did it this morning. So yeah,
it's interesting as the U.S. and EU finalize the trade deal. Something you've been talking about as being one of the bigger things that needed to happen. Yeah. That you're making that decision. You know,
and the rumor selling the news. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So yeah, big news obviously is the U.S. EU trade deal finalized. Market up on that news. Energy really soaring on that news as $750 billion in U.S. energy exports pledged to the EU.
You know, it's interesting you say that, Howard. Two things have happened this morning. First of all, the deal has not been inked, right? So when I see those trade deals, I want to see the ink dry. I want to see the actual deal. Japan came back on this morning and said that, yeah, we have a deal, but only about 1% of its actual cash. The rest of it, we're going to buy loans. We're not actually investing in the country. We're actually just going to create a loan system for you. So we still have to borrow.
They said that all along. They were going to be the financer, and that was it. That was absolutely part of the release. I
don't blame them. Yeah, and I don't blame them. That's a smart way of doing things, and I don't know what kind of deal we're getting. Right? What are we opening the markets up? Guess who's paying for that? We are, and those tariffs are going to be passed on to consumers. So I'm not really sure what the deal is. I think people are just, you know. I saw the new polls out this week about the average person thinks that it's about 55% thought that the big beautiful bill was really geared toward the wealthy, and that they were getting their taxes were getting slashed, which they are, and that it's not going to really affect them in a lot of ways. They're not going to get a benefit out of that. They're going to get some benefit out of it. They're going to continue the tax benefits that we've had that were continued, but that's about it. So yeah, I don't buy the rumor, sell the news. I'm very nervous about this market. People can't pay their home bills. They're missing out on car payments now at the highest rate ever. Delinquencies in credit cards are literally at the highest rate ever. People can't refinance their home. Rates aren't coming down. Powell and Trump are having a tizzy. I guess maybe they're trying to make up now, but it's just not really working out in what I think should be happening. So I'm not liking this. When I don't like something, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't argue. I'm going to stick with the news.
Yeah.
Defense and semis taking off also here. Defense rally again. This is one I talked about for sure. We see Kratos up 2.3%, Lockheed and RTX also moving up nicely this morning on the news. Again, as the EU pledged to buy hundreds of billions of dollars in U.S. military equipment, moving up nicely. It also has semiconductors moving up pretty well. ASML, STM, ASM, all of the European chip manufacturers up here nicely between 3.5 and 4.5%. So definitely nice to see that. And like I said, this week is going to be all about earnings. We have the largest week of the year for earnings. Over 150 of the S&P 500 will be reporting. Who are you watching for, Steve?
I do like the semiconductor space. I still do. I like this deal here. I also like the big Samsung deal that came out over the weekend. That was huge. We need chips. We need chips for everything, right? Chips go into microwaves. To me, that is the only thing that really is happening. I'm just looking up here while we're talking about this. Howard, we just saw First Squawk talk about it. Renewed U.S. focus on modular nuclear reactors and clean decentralized energy. Just saw this come in. We've been talking about that forever, haven't we? Microwave size nuclear reactors. Yeah. I'll put that up there for everybody to see. Interesting. Yeah, but no, I agree. It's all about the chip sector for me. I like the chip sector here. Still like it. I think Nvidia is still a hot sector, but I just don't think it's going to outweigh people's public sentiment right now. It's not good right now. So I'm not liking this market. FOMO is happening. We're seeing institutions and insiders selling at the highest rate in history. Never happened this fast. And retail is buying at the fastest rate in history. So who's right? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, there's a big fight. I'm not going to lean on the side of the retail. I'm going to lean on the side of the institutions. Why? Because they have the money. And we're also seeing two things happening, Howard. I think one thing that you and I have been advocating for, I don't know how long, the PDT rule coming down, right? From 25,000 to 2,500. For those of you who don't know, that's the rule that you must have at least 25,000 in your account. You can't trade more than 3 times a daily. That's just silliness. That's nonsense. But the problem right now is that banks are literally allowing these retailers at FOMO to be able to margin about 4 to 5 times their account size. That's never happened before. Banks are really looking for alpha, and they're finding it in the retail. And when the retail loses their money, they're happy. They take their money from them, and they take their margin money from them, and it just wins all around. So for the banks, the banks could be a big winner in this, even even when rates come down, it could actually be a big winner for them.
Okay, that's interesting. And that's only just hitting FINRA now, so you're not going to see that till they said best end of the year. So
yeah,
I do want to point that out, that you're not going to see that PDT rule happen anytime soon. As I was asking about was earnings. So we got Microsoft and Meta on Wednesday, Amazon and Apple on Thursday. 150 of the top 500 companies are reporting. Anybody that you're watching there this week?
Yep, both Meta and Apple. I want to hear two things. Meta, I want to hear about their wearables. They're really going into it. Ray-Ban was another good example of that. They've been partnering with Meta as well. And I want to hear about that side of it. I don't want to hear about their earnings. They're going to beat. Everybody knows they're going to beat. We've all lowered it to ability to them to beat. It's about whether or not and what they're actually investing in AI. If you notice back in the last 6 months, Mr. Zuckerberg has spent a lot of money into AI. He is zoom, zoom, zoom. He's spending every dollar he can get his hands on, and I'm concerned about that. I think that's awesome. I want to know what he's spending it on. I want to know how he's spending it. And then on the other side, the flip side of that is Apple might actually be inventing again. One of the things I'm interested in is that foldable phone. We've talked about this forever. They have not been innovating, right? And so that innovation, I want to see it. I want to see some serious innovation here. And if I see this foldable phone and it looks good, I know Samsung's got a trifold phone. But
I was gonna say I've seen those. I saw the ads all weekend for Samsung. So it's funny you mentioned that. I had noticed it and said, "Wow, they have just an absolute mass monster of ads out for it. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm an Apple guy when it comes to phones. But I like the idea. I like that. We'll see. We'll see.
Trump is speaking right now. He just said, if Iran starts nuclear again, we will wipe it out fast.
Okay. Yeah. Steve, I want to stick on some of the earnings this week or some of the analysts. One of your favorites had a nice little move up here in the last 24 hours. Nike up 4% on a JP Morgan overweight there. So they definitely had a nice little move.
We talked about Nike for how long? When the Nike was getting beat up, I said time to buy Nike. I've taken my profit off of Nike already, but it's smart. JP Morgan's a little late on this one because Nike had turned the corner, and I liked that corner that they had turned. I like the products that they're building. They're turning to the consumer products that have been good sellers, the Air Jordans, the Yeezy products, things that people like, and they've expanded on that, and they've expanded the ability to put colors in your shoes and change that out. And they've gotten away from just the Foot Lockers of the world, but actually the app. The app has been very good. I don't know if you use it, Howard, but I've been using the Nike app, and I don't buy all the things on Nike. I buy every once in a while. I did buy the latest DKN8s, and I like them a lot. They're very comfortable shoes. Nice. So yeah,
big fan of Nike shoes. I use the app. I don't use the app. It matters. I live close to one of their an outlet, mall there. So I tend to go to the Nike outlet there. You mentioned a little bit, I don't know if you had that connection together. Tesla up about 1.6%, and Musk confirmed they are buying a 16.5 billion in chips from Samsung, as you mentioned. So that was nice to see.
What's interesting about this one is, why didn't Tesla buy Panasonic? Because he already has a connection with Panasonic with the batteries. Why didn't he buy it from ASML? Why didn't he buy it from Intel? Why didn't he buy it from
a better deal? I mean, I don't know why.
Right. I think it's a little bit of a dig at the president, because Samsung because where they're made. So this could very well be an interesting issue here. That is the largest contract Samsung has ever received for chips. So that will really boost their productivity when it comes to making chips. And because it's Elon Musk, how many more companies come into Samsung and buy that chipset? So that's a real ding at Intel and a real ding at ASML and TSMC. So goodbye.
Yeah. So we'll see you there. Revidity is up about 6% this morning on a very nice little earnings beat there. So they're moving up nicely. On the other side of it, Cisco down about 1.3 after a downgrade. They have been high flying, Cisco, this year before that. But a little bit of a pullback here. And as you said, Steve, market sentiment in the S&P closed at record highs each day last week. Futures continue up. Tick right now is fairly muted, but advanced decline up 2,000 so far. Q's getting set to open up about 0.25% to the upside. I will say they were up as high as 40 basis points earlier, so they are pulling back a little bit.
And there it is, right there in black and white. Margin debt just topped $1 trillion. It's the fifth largest 2 months that surge since 1998. That's what I'm saying to you. It's exactly what I'm saying, right? That margin debt or margin allowing the banks or Robin Hoods of the world are allowing the FOMO retail to buy.
Not really the banks. It would be the Schwabs of the world.
Correct, but they're still backed by the banks. I mean, they still have to have money somewhere, right? So, in this case, it is the margin debt that, well, in Schwab's case, their bank, they have several banks back them. It's just too much money. $1 trillion. Think about it. That's just money that's on margin. So at some point, they've got to either cover that margin at the end of the month, or pay the bill, you know what? If they're margining, and we're seeing this now, they're margining at the highest level since 1998. What have we been talking about? The .com era. There it is, right in black and white. You posted it, Howard. So this is what scares me. I don't like this. And they're going to pull back that money. And when they do, the institutions will just be laughing all the way to the bank. And I don't want to see that. I want to see our people here have cash on the side, cash on the sidelines, not more margin because you go down. You don't want to buy more. You want to have cash on the sidelines ready to go, as we always call it, right? Yeah. And
I only use cash accounts, so I don't use margin.
Smart man. Yeah. I do use margin every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and in theory, that should also is going to unfortunately increase tremendously, like you said, with the advent of PDT rules going away, because people will then be able, a lot of people like myself who are affected by PDT rules, switch their accounts to cash only so that they don't have to worry about margin or PDT rules. If you are in a cash only account, you are not subject to them. So those people will switch it out. So that's what's going to be interesting.
More news coming in now. Trump says he's announcing pharma tariffs in the near future. It says he'll be dealing with UK on pharma. We wouldn't use pharma tariffs as a block for UK. Wow. There you go. So let's keep our eye on these biotech stocks.
Nice. We are about 12 minutes from the open here again. So far, Q's set to open up slightly. SPY set to open up slightly. Gold's retraced back down to 33.29. Bitcoin sitting at about 118,700 here after making another run up to 120, but failing at that 120. Mag 7's looking pretty strong so far in the pre-market, being led by Tesla, up 1% here. So we'll see what we get when we open here today. It does look like the market wants to go up. Other things going up are rates, without a doubt, still continuing to rise here. The 10-year just broke above 4.4 again. 30-year at almost 5% here.
Yeah. Trump's saying something interesting. He says, I can't imagine the UK censoring Truth Social. Is he worried? Is he worried about something here?
I don't get involved. I've never been on the site. It doesn't bother me. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, got about 10 minutes here. What are you thinking this morning here, Howard?
I think we're going to see a quick burst to the downside, then we're going to finish up for the day.
Oh, all right. I like that because my sales are all for the close of the day.
Yep. I think the news is overwhelmingly good so far today, and even the president tweets aren't going to hurt it because he's overseas. He'll end soon. He'll go to sleep. I will say, if you look at the top movers this morning, Chinese and AI definitely leading the way. We ride up here 8.22%. Nice Pony, both up about 7% here. Chinese AI names. All the crypto names looking good so far. Sharply Gaming, SBET, up about 4.5% here this morning. On the crypto side, Clean Spark up 2.79, BitDeer up 2.12. Galaxy Digital, Steve, while you were gone, Mike Novogratz went on CNBC, said ETH has more potential in the next 18 months than Bitcoin. Went home and sold $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So he backed what he said on TV without a doubt. So it will be interesting to watch there. And Galaxy Digital up 2.45% on that line. I don't argue with that point, quite honestly. DeFi has not even remotely taken off yet, and every TradFi company is looking to get in. So we're going to see a huge explosion on.
So how does that fit with your narrative of Solana?
Fits right in. He's a big Solana guy too.
Okay.
That's one of his. He's saying Bitcoin just did its run and I'm going cyclically into the alts is what I took his takeaway from.
Okay.
So that, I mean, and Solana, since we talked, has just rebroken 192 today, and looking phenomenal on that bounce back here. Oh,
And I will always refer to you on those. So this side of it, I'm, you know, look, when you look at it from the institutional side of who's buying what, you're definitely the person to reach out to on this. And I think that institutions are looking to turn to other institutions. Are they looking at Michael Saylor? Are they looking at the Mike Novogratz of the world and following them?
They're partnering with Mike Novogratz. Saylor's his own machine, so you kind of have to leave him out of it.
Okay.
You know, because he won't do anything that's not Bitcoin related, so that makes him, you know, very limited to one thing. Whereas Mike Novogratz's company, Galaxy, SharpLink, they are looking to be the companies that bridge TradFi and DeFi together. They're already part of the, you know, they're already SEC companies, they're already public companies. They're going to challenge Coinbase for supremacy on that ability to connect, you know, the ETFs to the world of that and everything else that's coming on in the world of DeFi. So
yeah. Steve Flanagan now says today begins blast off week.
I don't argue. I think earnings. You know, I don't disagree that this market is very overfrothed. I don't believe that it is. I do believe that it's due for a pullback. I just don't think this week is that week of that pullback. But you know, like I said, we'll see. As you said in the past, Steve, you don't try to time it. The last time you beat on the table, it went up about 10% before the pullback, and then the pullback was very significant, though. So, you know, that's something I think we need to let our viewers know. Steve does not usually try to time those. If he just feels uncomfortable, he says, listen, I'd rather hold my money on the sidelines. I might miss out on 5 or 10% upside right here, but that pullback's going to be more than that 5 to 10% upside rather, and I'll be willing to wait to buy that dip from where we're sitting today.
And I'm not selling everything. I'm just selling 25%, right? I'm not going.
That's not even long term, you know, because that's different. You don't normally do that. You've only done that, you know, maybe twice in the last, you know, 2 or 3 years. So that's you know, your trading account, you've done that, you know, 10 times.
And that's up.
That one doesn't surprise me. That's why I opened with it, because it's, you know, that's the change. And but I also want everybody to know that you don't, you know, and you could speak more to that you don't really try to time it, right? You just feel uneasy and you say, hey, I'm not going to trade what I don't trust.
You know, I look at my crystal ball. It's still broken. I can't answer that question.
What about the magic 8 ball? Is that working over there?
It's broken still. I think I looked at it a few minutes ago. It's broken too. It's funny. We talk about that, but when I don't want to, I see chasing. I see people chasing this market. You know, when you see every single day a new high, that's not making a decision that, oh, okay, I'm going to invest quality stocks. I'm going to buy things that I know that pay dividends or fundamentals are behind it. It's stocks that, okay, I talked about this yesterday in the speech, and I said, look, at $35, I was pounding the table saying Palantir is an awesome buy. Why? That's a dumb buy. Who has Palantir? Palantir has all the government contracts. They're going to get them. They got them. Guess what? Stock goes from 35 to what, 170 something, right? And when it's 176 now, okay, I'm not at 176. It's gone over its skis. It's way up there because people are not going, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Palantir. I always talked about Palantir. No, you didn't. Where were you at 35? Well, I didn't get into about 60, 70, 80, 100, 200. Right? Because I chased it. I had to chase it all the way because they weren't making quality thesis decisions. And that's what I want people to do here is make quality decisions. And there you go. Steve Flanagan just said BigBeats. That's it, right? Buy the dip, sell the rip. That adage has been around for as long as I can possibly remember. Steve's probably maybe been around before me, even Steve. I think you've been in the markets 40 years. Like, so I have to ask you, has that been around for 40 years? But that's how I feel. The rip has happened, folks. I mean, not only that dip in April was a gift horse in the mouth. Did you take advantage of it? No, you got scared. Okay, well, sorry, you took advantage of it. Awesome. Take that money off and run. Go on a vacation. I don't know. Enjoy it. Put it away. Take some profit off. And you know what? If the market goes higher, great. Fine. You still have 75% of your portfolio. If it doesn't go higher and it falls, great. You got 25% to put back in the market.
Yeah,
right? It's not hard to understand this. Yeah.
I will point out, Steve, in the world of DeFi also, the banks don't get the money on margin. We do. Those of us that are stakers and that support the
and that I do like. I think you're putting the hands of money back in the hands of money, right? The banks don't have the money, folks. It's your money.
It's our money they use, right? Be the bank. Be the bank. I have my latest Bitcoin shirt on today. Fix the money, fix the world.
That's right. And you know, I think that's one of the cool things. That was one of the things that I first learned, and thanks to Howard here for teaching me that we are the bank, right? When you stake it, it's our money that they're staking now. That it's still in their hands. They're still having to control the technology side behind it. But we are the bank. We are the bank in the real world too. The difference is the bank takes the fees, not you.
Yeah, that's
silly.
And that's why when you ask how high can Solana go or Ethereum or why are people bullish on those, because that is the rails that are going to carry this next set.
But what happens when those other people take money out and the stakers pull their money out and then there's no money in there to pay the bills? That I think that's what keeps.
It's not how it works. The stakers don't pay the bills. The stakers get paid. I mean,
right.
The total value locked on DeFi right now is only half as big as it was in 2021. So
right, but what happens if people start taking their money out of Solana and the ones that are stakers? How do they get
remember?
paid?
It doesn't matter. Stakers secure it and help in the validation part. They're not part of the payout system. The payout system is done by the pre-mining of the coin that happened years ago and that is being held by the foundation to be issued at a set inflation rate to pay those people.
I love that. We should have a session where Howard explains that, because I just learned something myself on the staking side. So
if less people stake, more the stakers actually get a bigger share. That's when it moves from 4 to 6% on Ethereum, and it moves from 8 to 12% on Solana. We want to see it as decentralized as possible and have as many people staking. So that's. That's
and market shark stakers also.
They are the liquidity. You are right, market shark.
They are liquidity. Yeah. That obviously I know, but how they get paid out is interesting.
Again, it's all because it's just like Bitcoin. Instead of the miners getting a reward that it comes over the next 100 years, they held 100 years of tokens back the foundation and they issue it to them to the stakers. They release it just like that, same exact way.
Very cool.
On a set schedule.
All right.
Okay, we are about 2 minutes from the open. Seeing the tick go negative for pretty much the first time this morning. Advanced decline has dropped from about 2,700 on the upside to about 18. So we are seeing some people listen to Steve here and sell that rip. But we'll see what we get at the cash open here. I do think we see profit taken, as I said, right off the start.
I agree. Yeah.
Hopefully people listen.
And I'll say when people ask me about my mutual funds and my long-term funds, a lot of my long-term funds, I moved it, as most of you know, in April to high growth dividends. I moved it to mutual funds in Latin America, mutual funds in Asia, and mutual funds in emerging markets. We talked about emerging markets. I was already in emerging markets before people were talking about emerging markets. I think the other one that I'm really concerned about is healthcare, and I think we talked about that with life insurance.
We are open.
Life insurance
is negative to the front side here. Q's open up at 5 at 67.80. Let's see what we get here. First move pretty muted so far.
PayPal launches that Bitcoin and crypto payment support for U.S. merchants. Is that PayPal is really
it's a big deal, not a huge deal, is what I would say. Again, they're copying what Cash App already has done.
Gotcha.
They're not the first.
Trump says on Federal Reserve, a smart person would cut.
Yeah, well, we'll have that rhetoric this week for sure going into the Fed meetings. Actually, holding up pretty good. First move is sort of the upside here.
Yeah.
Not much of a move, though.
It's
pretty good start.
I think people are waiting on earnings. I think they're waiting on Fed. Advanced
I'll
decline line
say-
now down to 900 here. So I'm not. I just would be careful here. I'm not liking this pop here at all. Tick down 400.
I don't think we have anybody too exciting in earnings today. I'm trying to look here. Nucor, so that'll be interesting for the nuclear side. We have them today. NUE, Nucor. Cadence Supplies. Western Unions today. Not a ton. Not a ton today that really gets me excited. Hartford Insurance. Let's see what the pumpers are here. So Mag 7 so far. Microsoft, Tesla now moved to the downside.
Yeah, I'm actually shorting Tesla right now, actually, here.
Nice.
Trying to catch it again here if I can. Yeah. And I'm short Tesla once again here. We'll see if I'm right or wrong here. Bitcoin is slipping. Oof, there you go. Yeah.
Tesla's still sliding 316.42.
316.12.
Bitcoin dropping a little bit, not much there. Tick negative about 300. Advanced declines come down to almost neutral, 175. So definitely seeing a little bit of that sell-off there, like we said. Q's really not doing it, though. It's happening across the SPY and the Dow Jones.
$250.
VIX coming off the lows of the other day here, up about 15.28. Not much there, though. Oil up today about 2.75% here again.
The Qs are pushing them just a little bit here.
Galaxy Digital big dump here, down about 0.7 here after that big move up in the pre-market. The people don't like what he did. He told everybody. Everything else is folding up that was up in the pre-market. A lot of the mining names getting hit here. Steve, Albemarle down about 7.5% here this morning.
I don't really like that. I think Albemarle's a good company doing some good things out there. So they're keeping us in the rare earth. So we got to be very careful here.
And a good sign for healthcare, HCA just announced their earnings here. Had a beat of about 8.68% on EPS and a little bit of a beat on their revenue. They have been down in the pre-market before the earnings report, now up almost a percentage point here. Could be good for some of the healthcare here. We'll have to see what the news was. Let's see today. I don't really have anything that tells you why. Newmont down about 2.62 again, another one of the mining companies, as I just mentioned. Chip sector moving up. The ones not, though, Micron and TSM both in the red here this morning. TSM down 1.22%.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get a deal. So that's what I said this morning.
They didn't get Tesla's deal, and they didn't get right.
Right.
And they're not part of the European
Makes
deal.
you wonder what's going on there, right? Why are they not getting the deals? Yeah.
Well, we do know the trade folks are in Stockholm meeting with the Chinese right now. So
let's see what happens in Stockholm. Yep, agreed.
I saw Ascent was there earlier. Avalanche, big move up here today. Not much else. Most of the banks down here so far today, outside of Bank of America up slightly, Schwab up slightly, Capital One up slightly.
Schwab has made the right moves. The crypto, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as Mr. Flanagan's saying, he's given, I thought it was 15 days, but who knows? He's probably changed it 4 times since then to end the Ukraine war. Yeah. Well, if we're going to go over and blow up Iran, we can just stop and hit Russia on the way, Steve. Yeah, all the chips moving up today, Ron. All of the chip companies moving up today.
For those of you playing at home, I just bought my Tesla back on that sell-off. So, yeah. Nailed that one a bit. Look at that, 316.40 now.
Bitcoin did bounce back to 118,639 here, so it is getting a little bit of speed. Ethereum trying to break back above 3850. That 4,000 though is still going to be a tough spot for it. My swing trade will come off 40.50. DXY at 98.30. So King Dollar, nice move back up to that 50-day MA here. Nice move up. Weekly close higher.
Come on, Tesla, keep slipping there. Tesla just seems weak to me. I mean, it just really does.
Not selling any cars.
Nope, they're definitely not. But I will tell you that and I did feel that crunch was on the ship leaving. Starlink went down. There was a worldwide Starlink outage, and that happened. Yeah.
Tick still negative here, about 500-600. Most of it coming out of the SPY so far in the Dow Jones, now down about 11 basis points. To be honest with you, the rut up, Q's still up, SPY pretty flat so far. So I don't know what's
selling. Down 500, advanced decline line down. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seems to be indiscriminate right now. Tick down 400 and the advanced decline down 600. There might literally be some beginning of this profit taking with, buy the rumor, sell the news. Trump is now touting Russian rare earths as potential trade product. Okay.
I thought he just said they only have 10 to 12 days. Well, maybe if we take them over, maybe they're going to be the 52nd state.
I mean, hey, I'll just walk over.
Right over to Alaska, right? It wouldn't be hard to incorporate them in.
We'll walk over to Moscow, take it over, right? Kremlin will be ours in a few days. Yeah, no big deal.
Bada bing, bada boom. MSTR up 1.83% here this morning.
How about Bitcoin to bounce back? Now back right to the 119 handle here.
Yeah, it's still got to break 125 500 for it to.
I was hearing over the weekend, and tell me if I'm wrong. 123 is where all of the big shorts are. Is that correct?
If it breaks 120.50, we'll actually start to set off some of them.
120.50. There you go, folks.
But got to get above that. 123 would definitely.
I don't know if I made a mistake, but maybe I heard that it's $1.6 billion of shorts at 123.5. Maybe it's 125.
That I don't know. I mean, so that's our all-time high. So it's so everything's going to be based on there.
Yeah, we went right.
Nothing above it has ever been liquidated. So everybody long would be at a new position. Everybody short would be at max pain.
Right.
That's yeah.
And the Dow literally is now on the lows of the day. So yeah. But Nike's up 2.4%. Was up 4% earlier, right? Profit taking is starting to come in. That's kind of what I felt like this morning was my feeling to this, and my feelings are usually pretty spot on. Yeah, and I think it goes to Steve Flanagan's point that he thought that he would see by mid-July, early August, that we would see these deals happening. And if that's the case, I'm thinking that people are saying, okay, well, there you go, and buy the rumor, sell the news kind of feel. All right, Tesla now 318. I'm out. So,
yeah.
Trump just said on Powell he's leaving very soon. I'll miss him. Okay. Oh wow, Tesla now almost 319 now, near the highs of the day here.
Meta jumping here. Meta up 1.26% so far today.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they're doing with their wearables. Yeah, Bitcoin really struggling at 119 there. 118.7 again. Trump on Russia says not so interested in talking to Putin anymore. That's probably a very negative thing right now. I mean, we need to have look. We may not like the guy, but we need to have frank discussions with them. But you know what? Trump is being very, very strong armed with him. And you know what? You got to give the man some props for that. He's standing up to the president of Russia.
He is.
You got to give him that. And now we're seeing the Q's now on the high today here. So we have a very weird market right now.
Yeah. That's it. I thought we'd see selling here to start off with. We'll see if someone starts to come in.
Does not change my philosophy and my thesis here, and I still think that I already put the orders in, so.
On Inc. up 21% here today. Keep an eye for a runaway there. That is not Tron, the crypto. That is Tron, the company. NASDAQ traded.
There you go. But Tesla now on the highs of the day, 319.73. I think it almost went to 320 here, almost. And Qs are now pulling back here as well.
It is, Steve. It is 21 days. The S&P has not had a 1% move to the up or down.
That's right. And that's also another one that just bothers me, right? But I mean, we know that there's low volatility, but when the volatility comes back, what's the path of least resistance? What I always tell people, what's the path of least resistance? It's not to the upside. It's just not to the upside. It's to the downside. Yeah. And Bitcoin's still slipping here, 118.
Still now down over 1,000 to the downside here.
Yeah, 1,045. So something's not adding up in this market here. And Bitcoin now in the lows of the early morning here, 118.4 now. And the gold just dumped. Somebody dumped a whole bunch of gold and dumped a bunch of silver here.
Energy, technology, consumer discretionary, only 3 categories.
Yeah, Trump just said on China, we're going to be setting a tariff for the rest of the world, and that's what they have to pay. So it looks like Trump's hitting them pretty hard here on China. And that just hit the markets here a little bit with Bitcoin slipping. And looks like tick now still down about 400. Silver and gold dropping here as well. Interestingly enough, not seeing oil move on that tweet. Tesla now 320.15. And silver now near the low session lows there. Gold also session lows, 33.17. This is where Peter said, look, if it holds 3,300, then you're good. 33.17 to buy back in. So here we are. We're at 33.17 now. $38 now an ounce on silver. Pretty quiet here, Howard.
Yeah, there's not much going on. I haven't really seen any dips I necessarily like or anything else.
Right. Iranian president now says we do not seek war. We are ready for dialogue. I mean, I don't know. You're in the Stone Age right now. What is it that they're looking to do? Still seeing more selling in gold and silver here on this. Advanced decline down 13.74 now.
Yeah.
Trump says he's allowed to give Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. Of course you are. You are the president.
Yeah.
321 now on Tesla.
Tick continuing to slide down. Advanced decline continuing to slide down. Q's holding up though. Tesla's driving the Q's.
Yeah. And I think I will do that sell again there on Tesla. We'll take another quick swing at this thing. If I get my fingers working here. Yep. Yeah. Ooh. And a little bit more there. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Down. Tick still down here. Advanced decline has sort of balanced out at that minus 1500 level. VIX rising slightly here to 1545. So we do see volatility picking up a little bit, Steve.
Yeah, a little bit.
As we said, SPY just ticks along and ticks up a little bit and ticks up a little bit and ticks up.
Yeah, I think people are just waiting. They're waiting on the Fed, and it looks like some of these deals, but they just don't know what to do right now. Gold and silver still dropping. We just 33.08 now, so gold's still dropping here. If it breaks 3,300, we all know what that could be some more selling there in that.
Question is, are people buying that gold and putting it into equities?
And I just bought back my Tesla there again. Did it twice today. So, kaboom! Look at that. 321.40. Yeah, I like that selling. Ooh, even more selling there. That was pretty obvious there. Oh, 321.50. That's very good. Yeah, very good.
Steve, I did notice that Morgan Stanley's now predicting the S&P likely to hit 7,200 next year.
Why not 20,000? Why not 50,000? Why not a billion? It's getting out of control. This markets are Ron saying markets are rolling over. Yeah, I mean, advanced decline down 1,700. Yeah, I mean, look, it's an arbitrary number right now. I don't understand their thought process behind it yet. They're saying that they think that the bullishness of the FOMO of it will continue. I don't agree with them, as I've made it very clear. I mean, do you agree with him, Howard?
With which part?
Of Morgan Stanley saying we're going to go higher on the markets.
Well, they're saying, but no, I mean, again, I said their line is 7,200 next year, so that's a lot of space between now and then. They're just raising what they think down the road could be. I don't argue with that. I mean, even a significant pullback would leave you on track for that, probably.
Correct. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we just now pushed through the 38 handle on silver and 33.08 now on gold. So 33.05 now on gold. So it is now touching very close to the 3,300 handle there that Peter says that's where it's at. That's the demarcation line. So we'll see soon. See. As now 1,800 down on the advanced decline line. So we should be, this thing could
this actually leads you to believe that later in the week we have a bigger move to the upside. If we see a pullback today before earnings start, really on Wednesday is when everybody that matters sort of starts to hit. If you see a pullback today and tomorrow, watch out to the upside on the strong earnings that they have.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Ron liking a Tesla now.
Even then, I mean, you know, Qs are up 40 basis points. Buy still up on the day. You know, it's still scary. You know, it's still now if we don't go up 4% in the morning, everybody's upset.
Right.
It's like when you used to get mad at Bitcoin when it wouldn't break 100,000.
Why couldn't I hold this slow?
You know, it's still Qs just hit the highs of the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, Tesla pulling back a bit here, 321.40 now.
You see Mr. Flanagan is in the room. We'll get him in here. I am going to have to take off at 10 o'clock, so we got him in. I got to ask a couple of questions before I have to go here. Mr. Flanagan, 90. We didn't get to last week's weekly close, right? But pretty close.
Well, last week was 97.64, but the level you're talking about the week before, yes. We have not. We're 98.30 right now. We're meandering on up. The big break point is the level we talked about, Howard, 98.95. You get above that. Now you have higher lows. In fact, all the charts you look at, higher lows, and now the potential for making a higher high. And that's that's a beautiful, beautiful sign. Excuse me, just 1 second.
And I would point out
technical difficulties with Steve Flanagan there.
I will point out that it's playing out for a lovely cup and handle here.
That's right. Yep, it is. And, you know, I think you got to put this, let's put this in a little tiny, simple analysis. We started this year hitting the highs in February, and then the big rotation trade started out of the dollar into the euro as number one. Why? Because the fears of Trump tariffs were going to push the United States into a recession, and we're going to increase inflation. Okay, recession, not happening. And now inflation, that's not looking very likely because you've got 5 successive months where the CPI data comes in lower than expectations. So the ammunition for the rotation trade is about exhausted. And that's what I believe is now ready to fuel the market. This is probably one of the biggest weeks of the year. We always like to say that, but we got the Fed, we got economic stats all over the world coming out, and then we have earnings and then the tariff deadline. So there are so many points here. I never expected the EU and the US to agree. So that one has blown me away. And the magnitude of this is huge. I'm going to simply say, Jay Powell, you've got everything that you need now. Watch out. Here I am again out on the limb. Watch out for the 0.25% cut this Wednesday.
There it is, folks.
Which is going to blow the market away.
Like you haven't seen if that's the case. You combine that with the earnings on Wednesday of, you know, the 2 of the Mag 7, You could have some fireworks.
And Steve has set the stage, so rightfully so. When you're sitting here with experience and you look at the market, the first thing you're doing is hitting the bid. Why? Because you're at all-time highs. Nobody wants to go in and buy the high, so we all sell. And I think if you look at some of the stats that are beginning to circulate, institutional traders are so short right now at what they call the top. And what is the feed, the fuel that is encouraging them? 21 days of less than a 1% move, plus or minus in the S&P. Paralysis has set in. And of course, everybody says, I'm not buying. How do you tell your boss on the desk? Remember, institutional traders, to the viewers, this is your ammunition. This is what you need to know. Institutional traders get paid bonuses based on performance. They run with the pack. And they're all short right now, in my view, because of the logical psychology of a market. You can't turn to your boss and say, I'm long, limit long in Tesla or limit long in NVIDIA at an all-time high. You can't, because they look at you and say, listen, cut your position, go take a break.
Go to Starbucks and come back in a little bit.
The last thing, we're in a melt-up, and we're into the summer doldrums where everybody begins to take vacations in August. This is the worst time for the market to begin to, make a decisive break. The odds are that it's sideways to down. Definitely. I'm going to say that too. I've been at it for over 40 plus years. The odds are we're going to see slight moves up, but they'll all be sold into, which is what we've been seeing.
Yeah.
The short, the less play, the bigger play that gets the bigger reward is you begin to break higher. Why is gold and silver coming off? Because there's no inflation. It's not showing up. And people are taking profits. That's money that's going to come in to what I would feel the equity markets.
So, Steve, I'm looking at my all right, I'm just gonna pull this up so I got these numbers down.
Absolutely. I do have to step away, guys. You have a great discussion. I'll be watching for sure. See you on tomorrow morning, everybody.
Take care, Howard.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna look at these. I have to read them off because I think there's just so much news here. But the student loan delinquencies now exceed 8%, with 5.8 million plus borrowers now in deep distress, not just distress, deep distress, meaning they can't pay at all. Credit card now between 22 and 25%. Spending is stalling. Subprime auto delinquencies now at 2008 crisis levels. We're now seeing retail buying at like .com era levels, SPACs, penny stocks, YOLOs, cryptos. Corporate margins are contracting. Top line growth is flat. There's nothing in these news that I like. And one of the things you said, you've been dead on, spot on, is that we will have all of these deals done. And Steve, I buy the rumor, sell the news has been something I've known since I was a kid, right? So is that still today? I mean, I don't like this market. I'm as people here know, I'm not short. I'm short some of it, but I sold 25% of my portfolio this morning.
Yeah, Steve, there's nothing wrong with that. You're still in it. So if the market goes up, you're still in it. You're not missing anything. You've taken profit. You've done the prudent thing. And I think that that's what your message, and I would argue, that's the message. When you're at all-time highs and you've got a good move, you're taking profit on some of your position. You can still be very bullish on your forecast. The numbers that you talked about, Steve, is exactly what's arguing for additional stimulus. And you can see already we're floating ideas out there from the administration that, hey, let's give back some of this tariff money to the people. Let's give some rebates. And that's exactly what that is going to answer that, Steve. I think is nothing going to happen like that overnight, but I believe that as this year begins to progress, you'll see those numbers begin to come off. And by the way, tap, Mr. Powell, if you're listening to what Steve just rolled off to you, what are you waiting for?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. I'm looking at those numbers right now. By the so in fiscal year 2024, the U.S. collected about 77 billion in duties. That was last year, right? So that was during the Biden administration. As of June this year, we've already hit about 108 billion, roughly 90. We should hit 123 billion dollars year to date. So if I were to take that money, and let's just say we get to 300 billion dollars. That's $100 per person in this country, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is saying he wants to give us all a rebate, so $100. My grocery bill's up more than $100.
Yeah, and I don't think you and I are going to get that rebate, Steve. By the way,
this is going to be back to the people that. Okay, I understand. All right,
it's going to be income dependent, clearly. But you know, there's a lot to unearth here. I've been all weekend. I've been just looking for trying to come up with, you know, a solid thesis here. I do believe that we're on the precipice for this reflation trade I've talked about. That doesn't mean that we won't see a 1%, 2% move down, but I do believe that the 5% or more move is on the upside. But, you know, let's look at, you know, Steve, when I first started in the business in 1979, 1980s, I was pretty much, you know, they said, hey, you can read those little dot matrix printers that came out with the news. You know, you'd hear ding, 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 and then the thing would go. Brrr, brrr, brrr.
I remember those days. Okay.
I used to read the money supply. So I started looking into money supply, and look at where money supply. Look at that peak of money supply after 2020 COVID into 2021, 2022. Then we had a slight pullback, definitely. But money supply this year has been going up. I believe that the last figure showed over 4% growth, which is incredibly high for June. Well, if there's a lot of money being pumped back in, guess what? That's the fuel to the fire. And there's always a lag effect to this. So if you look back at a money supply chart and see the enormity of the increase out of 2020, there's a lot of money flush in the system. So that is kind of what fuels me.
Okay, so there's money in the system, and I don't disagree. I do agree with you. There is money in the system because we can't seem to figure out where the money is going. It was going in the stock market. Okay, so let's talk about it today and in the future, right? If people are selling their gold, they're selling their silver, where are they putting it into? Are they putting it into crypto? Are they putting it into stocks? Where are they putting the actual money?
Well, now we bring it back to FX, Steve, and the dollar index is bottomed. You've got higher lows in place. So I'm just waiting for the spike on the move upside. But you can put it in. The dollar is a high interest rate currency. Mm-hmm. At 4.5%, it stands head and shoulders above the world. And the risk, the uncertainties of the budget, gone. And now the tariff deals are beginning to, one after the other, get knocked down. Mm-hmm. You know, if we get India up now, that's, you know, I didn't think the EU. They say India is very close. I believe India is waiting for this China negotiation to go on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So if we get India, then we're looking at Mexico and Canada. Mexico is important to any upside play in the dollar here because at 8%, it's a great offset to the dollar. The MEX is beginning to trade sideways, and we have now got a series of lows in the dollar Canada. A series of lows are in. The upside to me looks very clear. Watch the MEX, watch dollar CAD, because that will give you an idea of where money. If you don't want to be in the euro and outside of North America, you have parked a lot of money in the MEX and the CAD.
Yeah, and I was just in a cruise. Was just in Cozumel yesterday, 2 days ago, and money was not being spent. While we see the MEX at what 1850 now, I think something like that.
Yep.
I'm looking at it at 1865.6. They were buying and selling it at 18 flat. They were taking a little bit of a profit off of it themselves. But I'm not seeing that, right? I'm not seeing a lot. And I'll tell you, on the border of Canada and the United States, I mean, a lot of those U.S. towns are begging for Canadians to come over to spend their money, and they're not doing it. I'm seeing that a lot now.
It's imperative that the United States addresses Canada and Mexico. because this is a free trade, supposed to be agreement that we have. And do they fall in line, bang, bang, as this week progresses? So there's a lot of question marks on the week. Your strategy, Steve, bang on. Why? Because you've got Fed, you've got a tariff deadline. Why are you going to sit 100% in something that you've made good money on?
Right.
You're going to take money so that you have something on the side to take advantage. So watch the dollar. I like the dollar index to the upside. However, my own positioning, I am taking profits today and tomorrow and I will be flat into the Fed, because if the Fed cuts, that'll be another, you'll see the dollar drop off.
Right. I think people think that I think people are thinking that if the Fed cuts rates, that the things will go back up. The Fed is going to cut rates because things are bad. That's why people do it.
That's correct, Steve. But what happens when the Fed does cut? It's a change. The dollar is at the lows. When the Europeans started cutting rates, the euro has appreciated. This is one of these misnomers in the currency market. When central banks cut, the currency strengthens because of investment, because of the foreign direct investment, FDI, that comes into the country.
But a lot of times when the old adage of good news is bad news and bad news is good news, right?
Yeah.
You and I have lived through several instances of when that was the factor. And I think bad news actually is bad news. I think President Trump is saying, let's cut rates so people can get things moving. The housing market is really, really bad. I had a long chat with a realtor this weekend who handles $1 million homes. Says they're not moving. They're not moving at all. People are not wanting to move at all. They're sitting in their house, and the D.R. Hortons of the world, the Pulte's, Toll Brothers, they're and Hovanians, they're not building at the same rate that they were right after COVID and during COVID. They're just not. And I think bad news actually becomes bad news, and I think we're seeing that again.
It's possible, Steve. I don't disagree. I'm a newcomer to Florida, and I took a ride down one of the roads the other day, and one of those new home areas that are being built up with a big sign, 3.4%.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can get a loan for 3.4% to buy. So they're glutted with homes, and they're just trying to sell them. So
I'm sure it was like one of the big firms, right? But they already have money in the bank ready to go. They don't care what the bank is doing. They're financing their own stuff, and that's what I think Howard and I were talking about earlier. I think on Thursday, I guess it was, that they are financing a lot of it themselves and cutting the banks out in general. That hurts the banks now if they don't cut rates, right?
Absolutely. And here you come back into foreign exchange, a carry trade. I mean, I could borrow in Japan at 0.5%, take it in America and loan it out into mortgage rates, even at 4% or 3.5%. I'm still making money.
Yeah. So, and if you can, do me a favor, can you explain to people what the carry trade is so they understand?
So the carry trade is borrowing a low interest rate currency, say the yen, and then taking that and selling it. So you take a loan, you borrow the money, then you sell the currency and bring the currency into a high interest rate currency or into a market that has upside potential, such as the United States. The stock market's been booming and catching up. So then you create a position. You borrowed yen, you long yen. You sell the yen. So now you've kind of taken that out and you've bought the dollar. You take the dollars and then you loan them out in the US at a higher interest rate. Provided the exchange rate stays in a managed level, right? You have exchange risk, foreign exchange risk. Provided that stays, when that loan matures, you come back and pay off your loan. And the net of it is you get a high interest rate currency return. And
are we seeing a lot of the institutions, are they actually doing that? You think that they're putting a big carry trade in the United States?
I think that the U.S., with the uncertainties, has killed people in that trade.
That's what I'm thinking.
But as the veil of uncertainty begins to withdraw, which I believe we're in, then that becomes an even, because now you're going to get a dollar appreciation. So with your yen, you've sold the yen, you buy the dollar goes up in value, the yen kind of holds, you're sitting pretty.
You win both ways.
Yeah.
Steve Flanagan, we'll see you right back here on Wednesday, man.
Take care,
All of
Steve.
you at Quasar Markets Live, thank you so much, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.